Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. San Diego County just agreed to pay its largest ever wrongful death settlement. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson says the family's goal was to make preventable deaths too expensive for county jails.
Do you consent to a blood sample?
San Diego police arrested Hayden Schuck on suspicion of driving under the influence. He was booked into Central Jail in March of 2022. Surveillance footage shows him struggling with a water fountain and drinking spoiled milk. Staff then placed him in a secluded area of the jail known as the Back 40. Lawyers say within days he died from dehydration and untreated drug withdrawal. He was 22 years old. His family will never know exactly what happened. There was a camera above his cell, but when they asked for the footage, more than 2 days were missing. A federal judge ruled this summer that the sheriff's office purposefully deleted it.
Hearing Judge Sabra in the spoliation hearing on Thursday, the 9th of October, say that this is inexcusable out loud was priceless. It was so redeeming. It was 3.5 years of, please just tell me what happened.
To settle the legal claim, the county agreed to develop better training for jail staff and pay the Schuck family $16 million. Their lawyers say that's the most the county has ever paid to avoid taking a wrongful death claim to court. His mother, Sabrina Schuck, says it's not about the money.
We've already lost everything. You can't pay for that. What you can do is send a message that change is needed.
The sheriff's office says the settlement will come out of its budget. Hayden Schuck died the year before Sheriff Kelly Martinez took office. Her office says it's made big changes since then. In-custody deaths are falling, but they're not stopping. Since Schuck, at least 45 more people have died in San Diego County jails. The sheriff's office did not answer KPBS's questions about deleting the surveillance footage. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
Well, to this point, it's been a pretty breezy, if not windy and hot week, but we're going to see some relief from that heat. Tonight, we're going to get down to the low 50s in Escondido, 50 into Ramona, 56 into San Diego. And while it will still be a little warm on Thursday, temperatures are backing off. The heat advisories are coming to a conclusion this evening, so we're moving in the right direction. We'll take a look at that complete 5-day forecast from region to region, mountains and the deserts to the coast coming up.
The government shutdown claims another casualty. San Diego Fleet Week. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer says this year features no public engagements, stranding thousands of students who attend each year.
The organizers of the annual Fleet Week San Diego say this week the Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps pulled the plug on their support of the event. That means no boat parade, no public ship tours at Broadway Pier, and no school field trips. Larry Blumberg is the CEO of Fleet Week San Diego. He says canceling student STEM days at the pier is the most disappointing part.
Every year we've had more and more students, and not only the military, but the tech community here in San Diego gets behind it, and the students and the administrators and the teachers, they love that event, okay? So that's a very big disappointment to us.
He says last year's event drew 20,000 people to the pier.
Our event at Broadway Pier, last year we had like 4,200 students And we already had 5,000 signed up this year.
A spokesperson for Navy Region Southwest in San Diego tells KPBS they also had to cancel on the larger San Francisco Fleet Week. He says the Defense Department ordered all community outreach activities to cease for the duration of the shutdown. Not everything is canceled. Fleet Week San Diego will have a presence at the San Diego State football game this weekend. Bloomberg says it's one of several military family events still planned.
Those events that are going on are really family focused and active duty focused, and I want to make sure that gets the word that word continues to get out that those events are going to happen.
More information is online at fleetweeksandiego.org. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
The government shutdown forces the Federal Reserve to make its latest interest rate decision without a key piece of data. Karen Kafa is in Washington with a look at what today's announcement means for your wallet.
The Federal Reserve making its latest decision on interest rates without the full picture of how the U.S. economy is faring.
There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals. Our framework calls for us to take a balanced approach in promoting both sides of our dual mandate.
The ongoing federal government shutdown has suspended most of the economic data the Fed relies on. That includes the Labor Department's jobs report for September, which should have released October 3rd.
It's not to say that we don't know what's happening with the U.S. economy right now, but we would have a much better idea and a higher degree of confidence if the federal government were operating and releasing the data that we're accustomed to getting.
The Fed can lean on employment data from the private sector as well as its regional banks. And while government inflation data for September did release last Friday, Bankrate's Mark Hamrick says the labor market is really in the Fed's focus.
Inflation is rising at an annual rate of 3%. That's still a long way away from the Fed's 2% target. But the Fed is primarily concerned now about a job market which has essentially frozen.
Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan, says the central bank will likely take upcoming rate cuts with caution.
What it's doing right now is actually just taking its foot off that brake and moving us back to neutral. We'll coast for a little while until we can figure out what the next step needs to be.
Meaning, economists say consumer relief on mortgages, auto loans, and credit card debt will come slowly, too. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Homeless families sleeping in their cars will soon have access to a new safe sleeping site. KPBS education reporter Katie Anastas says it's at the former site of Central Elementary School.
At least 40 families will be able to safely park and sleep in the lot at night. Kids will be able to do homework in a classroom trailer nearby. Parents will also have access to case managers and basic cooking appliances. Priority will go to families with children in the San Diego Unified School District. State data show about 8,000 students in the district are homeless.
Safe parking programs don't just provide a safe place for families to sleep, but the support services and case management to move families into stable housing. And we realized we had vacant property right here at Central Elementary, this big empty parking lot on a beautifully landscaped site with some unused space that could be used for case management. And we knew that with the city's partnership and with the Housing Commission, we could open safe parking right here to support kids and families in San Diego Unified.
The San Diego Housing Commission is working with Jewish Family Service to run the program for a year. The goal is to have it up and running by the end of November. And the need is urgent. The Housing Commission received more than 850 requests for shelter for families with children between July and September. None of those families could be placed in shelter because of a lack of space. The district eventually plans to convert the former Central Elementary property into affordable housing for teachers and staff. Hazen hopes this safe parking site will pave the way for others across the district. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Crews are getting to work on a backlog of streetlight repairs in downtown San Diego neighborhoods. The City Council voted this week to reinvest nearly $2 million in parking meter revenues into infrastructure projects, and that includes sidewalk fixes, safety improvements, and streetlight repairs. Our media partner KGTV was there as the work got underway.
$1.8 million has been specifically dedicated now to the transportation's budget, which allows us to have our streetlight electricians work extra hours. So we'll be able to get more production out of the individual team members that we have to improve safety.
City officials say there are currently 1,200 streetlight outages in downtown, and a portion of the funds will be used to reduce that backlog. Oceanside is getting more sand for its dwindling beaches through something called opportunistic sand replacement. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen explains what that means.
It's awesome. We need it.
What's a beach without sand? That's why Oceanside is bringing in 2,000 cubic yards of sand to replenish Tyson Street Beach. Oceanside resident and surfer Sean Bush is glad it's happening.
It's not a simple solution, but something has to happen.
This is the city's first official sand compatibility opportunistic use program project, or SCOOP. Jamie Timberlake is Oceanside's coastal zone administrator.
And what we do with these projects is we grab sand from an opportunistic source.
Basically, it's sand from a dredging project or excavated during construction.
And we test it, we sample it, test it, make sure it's approved by all the overseeing agencies, and then we place it on the beach.
This sand is a mixture from the San Elijo dredging project and the excavation at the new Front Wave Arena.
This is the first project in decades that the city's done for this type of effort, and it's awesome.
Bob Ashton is the CEO of Save Oceanside Sand. He says replenishing sand is important for a myriad of reasons.
Our economy is fueled by the beach, right? And for many of us that surf and have grew up here, this is part of our culture. It's in our DNA.
I want to show you the stark difference the sand makes. This is the beach with sand, and this is the beach without sand.
So we have cobble here naturally. The reason why the cobble is exposed is because we have a lack of sediment and a lack of sand in the systems.
This is only a temporary solution. The sand would be washed away by the surf within 6 months.
But what happens is that sand stays in the system. It'll start migrating south to southern beaches in Oceanside.
The city is looking for long-term solutions through its Re-Beach project. The initiative will take several years and will need multiple agencies to sign off.
Temperature's rising, water levels are rising, and it's only going to get worse, so I'm glad something's happening.
The city recently filed a notice of preparation for Re-Beach, giving residents 30 days to comment on the project's environmental impact. A public meeting is set for Thursday at 5:30 at City Hall. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
San Diego may not have a lot of World Series history, but professional baseball has been a part of our past since the Padres were a minor league team that didn't have much of a budget to work with. As Ken Kramer shows us, that sometimes meant they had to use their imagination, and so did their fans.
You ever listen to a baseball game? I mean, on the radio, listen to it.
Hi, everybody. It's Philadelphia Phillies baseball time.
A good baseball broadcaster on the radio could make you feel like you were right there with them at the stadium.
Here's the strike one pitch. A bunt up along third base. Say falls down, and the ball's going to stay fair for a bunt single.
But what if the announcer wasn't at the stadium, didn't travel with the team at all, and everything you were hearing during road games, all the sounds, the crowd, everything, was made up? From the 1940s up to 1968, when the team was playing out of town, the Padres couldn't afford to send an engineer and an announcer and all the technology to Seattle or Oakland or Honolulu to broadcast the game in real time. So what did they do? To find out, we paid a visit to Bill Swank, San Diego baseball historian. Hello. He says it's true. Years ago, he'd listened carefully to the radio announcer during Padre road games, and he began to notice something.
When I really became aware, I thought, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. And I finally figured it out, that it was a recreation. He wasn't actually there.
That's right, a recreation. The announcer was back in San Diego in a studio with a microphone and a bunch of sound effects records. They had the sound of cheering, booing.
Concessionaires in the stands, hot dogs, get your red hot dogs.
Okay, you got the sound of the crowd and the microphone. You're ready to describe the game, but the game is like 1,000 miles away. How do you know what's going on? How do you know what to say? At every away game, there'd always be somebody at a teletype sending out real-time information for whoever needed it. Might be a newspaper, whoever.
They would send little telegrams, just very short.
I mean really short, like just the batter's name and ball, strike, base hit, left field. Wasn't much, but if your radio station back home had a receiving teletype, and most of them did, A clever announcer could recreate the game happening somewhere way across the country. Only thing, let's say the message comes in, Padres got a base hit to left.
They had a bat just hanging from a string or a rope from the ceiling. They had a stick, a wooden stick, and they would hit the bat, and that made the sound of a ball hitting the bat.
Here's the pitch, and it's a base hit to left field. What if it's a ball or a strikeout? You need something that sounds like a ball hitting the catcher's mitt. Oh, a piece of leather, maybe an old shoe.
And they would hit it with a stick, and then sound like a ball being caught.
Strike three, struck him out.
And it sounded pretty real. All
over the country, baseball announcers were recreating games that the teams couldn't afford to send them to. Based on very little information coming into the studio, maybe just a word or two every now and then.
Ball one, ball two, base hit, left field.
Now imagine, the announcer back in San Diego knows that it's been a ball, but he doesn't know, was it high, was it low? Was that base hit a line drive, was it a fly? No way of knowing. So the announcer just makes a lot of things up.
That's where his creativity came in.
Oh, it's a beautiful day here in Seattle. Was it really? That pitch just caught the inside corner for a strike. Well, maybe not. You see, baseball recreators, they had so much time to fill, they had to be really good storytellers.
Every town thinks theirs was the best, but we probably had the best, Ken, and his name was Al Schuss.
Al Schuss, former announcer with Milwaukee, the Chicago Cubs, and Brooklyn Dodgers, came to San Diego and was so good at recreating out-of-town games. It's too bad that, so far as I can tell, there are no existing recordings of him doing them. Well, they were all live. So we have to imagine him painting pictures right out of his own mind while waiting for the next bit of information on his teletype. And if the machine broke down, well... Oh, looks like we're having a rain delay here, folks. But that reminds me of a story.
It's all out of his mind, his creative mind.
And most listeners had no idea.
They'd see him in town. They'd say, you're supposed to be in Seattle. He said, well, I had to fly back for business because he said after a while it just got too hard to explain to everybody.
Gotta say, I was listening to baseball on the radio growing up back then. Never noticed anything.
I guarantee you heard a recreated game. I guarantee it, if you were listening to baseball games, and if you were an Angels fan or a Stars fan up in L.A., that you were listening to some recreated games, but they were very good.
Fly ball to deep left field, way back, way back, and there it goes.
And there it goes. And everybody knew what that meant.
It was Al Schuss's signature Padre home run call. Bill Swank has written several books about San Diego baseball history, and he says the days of recreated games on the radio were simpler times, when a few sound effects and hitting a bat hanging by a string created the outline of a picture in our minds. And looking back, for those of us in San Diego, it was Al Schuss who filled in all the color and all the details.
And he was very good at it.
We can only imagine.
Strike three, and the Padres win this one on the road 4-2. Good night, everybody. We'll see you around and
about San Diego.
And you can see more of Ken Kramer's stories about San Diego every Thursday night at 8 o'clock right here on KPBS.
Well, we've had a very breezy and warm week to this point. There were some record highs in recent days. The heat advisories have been with us. They are ending this Wednesday evening, and cooler air will gradually be returning. And the wind is going to slightly blow onshore. It won't be as windy as it has been. And we're also going to see the return of some of that morning fog and some coastal clouds. The marine layer each afternoon will turn brighter. So the clouds will be in the morning, then we'll be turning a lot sunnier into the middle of the day and into the afternoon. So overnight tonight, we're going to get down to around 56, and there won't be too many low clouds tonight. It's later in the forecast that we see more of that marine layer return during the late night hours and the early morning. But bright afternoons are coming our way. Thursday, still kind of warm out there, but not as warm as we have been. We're going to find that it is a little cooler. You're going to begin to notice some relief out there. We're still going to be around 79 in San Diego, 80 into Oceanside, and 90 in Escondido. So there is still some warmth out there. Still 91 in Borrego Springs. Up into Mount Laguna, you're going to find some relief thanks to elevation. 66 degrees there. And we're kind of trimming the heat just a little farther east, a little more restricted to the interior for Friday, which happens to be Halloween. So a quick look, if you do happen to be traveling Friday, you can see that a lot of the nation's going to be experiencing some pretty decent fall weather for Halloween. Some rain in the northeast, but locally, we're not going to have any weather concerns for the trick-or-treaters out there. We're looking pretty good. Coastal forecast, you can see some intermittent clouds. Morning fog giving way to sunshine on Friday. Saturday, cloudiest in the morning. Sunday and Monday, some low clouds giving way to plenty of daytime and afternoon sunshine. Inland areas, here we're going to go from 89, still very warm on Thursday, but the heat is backing off back down to 81 Friday and Saturday. So at least the wheels are changing and turning, and we're in a more comfortable forecast mode. Maybe not so much Thursday for the inland areas, but by Friday and Saturday, you're going to get some of that relief. Mountains drop from 66 on a bright Thursday to 60 and even upper 50s for Sunday. And then we bounce back up early next week with a good deal of sunshine. And in the deserts here, we're going from 91 down to the upper 80s. Not as much of a day-to-day change there in the typical hot spots. For AccuWeather, I'm Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the News Hour, a look at the devastation Hurricane Melissa is wreaking in the Caribbean. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The National City Public Library is celebrating its first year of a new kind of borrowing program. KPBS South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki says this program doesn't check out books or DVDs. It has power tools.
When you walk through the doors, the National City Public Library is everything you'd expect. The bookshelves, the bulletin boards, the tables of people quietly working or chilling out. But if you head up the stairs, around the corner, and past the water fountain, you'll find something unexpected.
It's very much like a typical office space, but instead of having desks in here and chairs, it's just mostly shelving units full of tools.
Alex New is the systems librarian here. About a year ago, he started the library's first tool lending program, which checks out different kinds of tools to anyone with a library card. And we're not just talking hammers or screwdrivers. This place has some serious hardware.
Some of our more recent additions have been concrete tools. So we have a concrete saw down here, and this case is a jackhammer.
The program is the first of its kind in San Diego County. It's small but growing and is open to anyone with a National City Library card, which means anyone with a county address. Over the past year, New says they've registered more than 100 patrons and checked out more than 600 items. At first, the program was only open for in-person checkout Monday and Wednesday evenings, but more recently, they've started using an online checkout system.
Everything we have on our website, there's a full catalog of tools. People can reserve them in advance if they wanted to. And then on each tool, we have a tutorial for how to use them as well.
Tool lending programs at public libraries aren't unheard of, but they aren't common by any stretch. In 2021, a study found only 50 of them nationwide. New first learned about these programs around a decade ago when he was living in Portland. He needed a lawnmower but didn't have the money to buy one. His neighbor said there was a library just a couple miles down the road.
It was just like an aha moment, like, oh, this is like a new treasure that I just stumbled upon.
New dreamed about starting his own program. When he joined the National City Library in 2018, he says it felt like a place that just made sense. One of the poorer cities in the county, and one with a lot of older homes. New applied for a state environmental grant and used the money, $30,000, to stock up on more than 200 tools, focusing on electric hardware, gardening supplies, and equipment for cars, bikes, and crafting.
The tiller's our favorite.
Yeah.
Allison and Johnny Calderon moved to National City 2 years ago. They come by regularly for gardening equipment like the tiller, which is used to break up the soil before planting.
We found out that there's a lot of gardeners in National City, and some of our neighbors are pretty big gardeners, so they've kind of encouraged us to grow our own food, and Allison's a vegetarian, so it's been like a fun project for both of us.
A couple days later, I stopped by the Calderons to see their garden in person. The southwest corner of their house is crowded with beds of vegetables, blooming with tomatoes and stalks of corn. Johnny bends down and picks up a small pumpkin.
We were able to clear this whole area out because this was all grass as well, and then we were able to build some of the framing for the garden beds.
Along with the garden, the library's tools have also helped them build what feels like a new home. The newly married couple are recent arrivals to National City. Allison says it's given them a way to become a part of the neighborhood.
We moved away from a lot of our friends and family in Northern California and came down here not knowing a ton of people, so having people just want to stop by and go grocery shopping in our backyard. It is really nice to just have a friendly face pop over.
Back at the library, Alex New says these kinds of experiences are part of their goals for the program. He's seen plenty of first-time homebuyers coming in, but also patrons working on things like folklorical dresses or looking to change their tires. Last year, as New was leaving for his lunch break, someone came in and said their car wouldn't start. New went straight to the tool library.
We have a battery pack that we can loan out, but I was able to just come out here, grab it, and jump his car for him.
Libraries, New says, are much more than just a building full of books. They're always trying to adapt to the needs of the places and people they serve.
This is one way of us showing to the community that we're here for them, we're there to support them, and for more than just checking out media or finding information.
They're still doing that, he says, just in a different way. In National City, Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
A very useful program to know and use. Well, here is a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. New and used car prices have soared in the last 4 years. NPR's Morning Edition is diving into how insurance and maintenance are also adding to the higher cost of living. And KPBS Midday Edition has a roundup of all of the best arts and culture events around town in the weekend preview. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.